So let us start. Our today's topic is movement along and shift in the supply curve. Basically, these are two concepts. Movement along the same supply curve. It is related with extension in supply and contraction in supply. And then we have shift in the supply curve. The next concept, it is increase in supply and decrease in supply. What is movement along the same supply curve? When we move on the same supply curve from one point to another point, it can be either extension in supply or can be contraction in supply. So extension in supply means when supply increases due to increase in price only. When supply increases due to increase in price only, or supply decreases due to decrease in price only, other things remaining same. In case of shift in the supply curve, in this case, in the next case, we shift from one supply curve to another supply curve, either leftward or rightward. So if we take two examples, this is supply curve, for example, SS is supply curve, and we are at point here. At this point, for example, A, OQ is supplied at OP price. When price extends, increases, we move to point from, we move to another point on the same supply curve, to point B. Here, OQ1 is supplied at OP1 price. So movement from A to B, it is extension in supply. It is extension in supply. If, for example, we move from point A to point C, here supply decreases from OQ to OQ0, and due to fall in price from OP to OP0. So this A to C point, it shows contraction in supply. This is contraction in supply. So when we move on the same supply curve from one point to another point, it is the case of extension supply or contraction in supply. First of all, we will take what is extension in supply and contraction in supply. What is extension in supply and contraction in supply? What is extension in supply and contraction in supply? Or we can write down it, distinguish between extension supply and contraction in supply. We will take first extension supply. What is extension in supply? Extension also means increase, but when only price plays its role, due to increase in price, supply extends. That is the case of extension in supply. Other things remaining same. That means cost of production, technology, number of sellers, goal of the firm, that remains same. That is the case of extension in supply. So you write down the answer for extension supply. When quantity supply of a good, when quantity supply of a good extends or increases due to a rise in price only, other things remain same. Remain same. It is called extension in supply. So the factors other than price, they remain same. It is called extension in supply. The other things are like, cost of production, technology, number of sellers, goal of firms, etc. remain the same. Remain the same. So this is the case of extension in supply. So extension supply means when quantity supply of a good extends due to rise in price only, other things remain the same. It is called extension in supply. Other things are like cost of production, technology, number of sellers, goal of firms, etc. They all remain or price uncertainty. There is certainty in prices. It remains same. So it is the case of extension in supply. We can explain it with the help of a supply schedule also. Supply schedule. How to show the extension in supply from supply schedule. We have price and we have quantity supply. We can explain it extension in supply from a supply schedule. For example, price is 5, quantity supply is 10. Price extends to 7, quantity supply extends to, for example, 15. It goes to, for example, 8 or 9 or 10, quantity supply goes to 20. So this is the case of extension in supply. When supply rises due to rise in price only, other things remaining same. So here price, quantity supply rises due to rise in price. How to show it with the help of a supply curve? So there is movement on the same supply curve. OX shows quantity supply and OY shows price. OY shows price. We have here 5, 10, 15, 20. 5, 10, 15, 20. We have here, for example, 5, 10. 5, 10 is price. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let us make it in a good manner. For example, this is 5 and this is 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 5 and 10. 5 is price, 10 is supply. This is point here. It goes to 7, for example, 7 and 15. This is the point A and point B. 8 and 20, 8 and 20, for example, point C. So we get supply curve like this. SS. So initially we were at point A. At point A, the price was 5 and supply was 10. At this, price was 5 and supply was 10. When price extends from 5 to 7, the supply extends to 15. We move from point A to B. So moment from point A to B shows extension in supply. So this is how extension in supply works. We can simply write down to explain this schedule and diagram that when price is 5, the supply is 10, and we were at point A on supply curve SS. When price was 5 and quantity supply was 10, and we were at point A on the supply curve SS. When price rises from 5 to 7, the supply extends from 10 to 15, from 10 to 15, and we move to point B on the same supply curve. On the same supply curve. This moment on the same supply curve from point A to point B shows extension in supply. So there is no role from other factors other than price, which extends the supply. Again, when price again rises from 7 to 8, the supply extends, rises from 15 to 20, and we move to point C. We move to point C. So again, this moment from point B to C again shows extension in supply. Extension in supply. Then we have the next, that is contraction in supply. This is extension in supply, and then we have the contraction in supply. Contraction in supply. What is contraction in supply? This is opposite to extension in supply, but here also price plays the role. Other thing is remaining same. Contraction in supply. Contraction in supply. When quantity supply of a good contracts or falls, कम हो जाती है, सप्लाई कम हो जाती है ड्यू टू fall in price only. Other things remain the same. It is called contraction in supply. Other things are like cost of production, technology. We have so many factors other than price, number of sellers, goal of firms, etc. remain the same. So it is the case of contraction in supply. Thus, when quantity supply of a good contracts due to fall in price only, other things remaining same, it is called contraction in supply. What are the other things other than price? We have already discussed the factors other than price as well as price. The other things are which changes the supply, which can change the supply. That's cost of production, technology, number of sellers, goals of firms, price uncertainty, price expectations that remain same. So how to define this? How to prove this contraction in supplies through supply schedule? We have here price and quantity supply. For example, price is 10, quantity supply is 20. Price falls to 5, quantity supply falls to 10. We can have so many more values for price and quantity supply. Quantity supply. For example, price is 2, quantity supply is 5. So you can go on. We can still decrease price and quantity supply also decreases. What is the diagrammatic explanation for this? OX shows quantity supply and OY shows price. We have price as 5, 10. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Quantity supply is 5, 10, 15, 20. 5, 10, 15, 20. For example, price is 10, quantity supply is 20. Price is 10 and quantity supply is 20. 20 के स्टेट में और 10 के स्टेट में ये बन गया पॉइंट, फॉर एग्जांपल पॉइंट ए. Price follows to 5, quantity supply follows to 10. चलो यहाँ 15 कर देते हैं हम, यहाँ हम 15 कर देते हैं तो और ठीक रहेगा हमें 15 एंड यहाँ हम 10 लिखेंगे, यहाँ हम 10 लिखेंगे. 5 and 15, 5 and 15, 5 and 15 ये है पॉइंट बी. फिर 2 and 10, 2 and 10, 2 and 10 ये बन गई हमारी सप्लाई करूं यहाँ. SS is our supply curve. So we were at point A when price was 10 and quantity supply was 20. The price follows from 10 to 5 and quantity supply follows from 20 to 50. Again, this price follows to 2 and quantity supply to 10. So from point A, movement from point A to point B on the same supply curve shows contraction in supply. Contraction in supply. Contraction in supply. Thus, we can explain this supply schedule and supply curve through some sentences. What is the logic? From the diagram and table, we see when price is rupees 10 and quantity supply is 20, and we were at point A on supply curve SS. When price falls from 10 to 5, the quantity supply follows from 20 to 15, and we move from point A to point B. From point A to point B. This movement from point A to point B on the same supply curve. Movement from point A to point B on the same supply curve shows contraction in supply, because this fall in supply is due to fall in price. And again, when price again falls from 5 to 2, from rupees 5 to rupees 2, the quantity supply falls from 15 to 10 units, and we move again from point B to point C on the same supply curve. This again movement from B to C on the same supply curve. Only thing which we must remind that in the contraction in supply and in the extension in supply, there is movement on the same supply curve. In case of contraction in supply, there is leftward downward movement, and in the extension supply, there is rightward or upward movement on the same supply curve. So this is all about contraction in supply and extension in supply. Now the next topic is how other factors work when price remains the same. When the factors like cost of production, number of sellers, technology goes up for them, but price remains same. Price remains same. How there is change in supply? How there is change in supply? Either upward change or downward change. So there also we must remind one thing, that is there is shift in the supply curve. If we were at supply curve SS, we can move from S1 S1. We can move from S2 S2 supply curve. So in case of decrease and increase in supply, we move all together on another supply curve. But in case of extension and contraction supply, we remain on the same supply curve. We remain on the same supply curve, but move from one point to another point on the same supply curve. So this is all about the extension and contraction in supply. Tomorrow we will discuss extension and contraction in supply. Thank you very much. कोई question? Hello? कोई question? अनु?
No, sir. Thank you.
ये समझ आ गया? तो घर में कॉपी बनाना जो मैंने इसमें पढ़ाया।
Yes, sir. आ गया समझ।
हाँ, तो कल मैं पढ़ाऊंगा एक्सटेंशन एंड कंट्रैक्शन, एक्सटेंशन एंड कंट्रैक्शन, नो सॉरी इंक्रीज एंड डिक्रीज। आज एक्सटेंशन एंड कंट्रैक्शन कल मैं पढ़ाऊंगा वो। थैंक यू। ये क्लास में उसमें भी डालूंगा, ग्रुप में भी है, मैंने रिकॉर्ड किया। ओके।